You will have seen on all the television newses, on the mainstream radio, on Stuff, in the Herald, streams and streams of articles about how rich people in New Zealand are ripping you off. How the real rate of income tax they pay is 8.9% and you pay lots more. And it has resulted, of course, in Green MPs like Chloe Schwarbrook picking up their pitchforks and effectively yelling, let's eat the rich. Let's have a revolution. Let's change the tax codes. Well, it's quite a good story for a lefty in an election year, and with a media that wouldn't know its bottom from its elbow, it makes quite a compelling narrative, and you will see it all across and have seen it all across the media in the last couple of days. It comes from a report released by David Parker, who 2 to 3 years ago decided he wanted to have an investigation into how much tax those terrible wealthy people in New Zealand pay. So the Inland Revenue Department went and gathered information on rich people and decided that they made much of their money from capital gains. That is the improvement or the increase in the value of assets that they own. And when you're wealthy, you've probably got more money to own more assets. So for the purposes, and this is a very blunt and broad interpretation of the study, they said, let's look at all the money that rich people make from the increase in their assets and treat that as if it was income, and then say, well, do they pay income tax on that? Well, they don't, because there's no law for them to do it. But basically come up with some figure, then pluck some figure out of the air and say, look at them, they're ripping the rest of us off. There's a lot to the story. We're going to spend a couple of days unpicking it. But I thought the best thing we could do is go to one of those, and I use the term in inverted commas, rich pricks who got surveyed by the Inland Revenue Department, and find out just how intrusive and just what information they were compelled, and this is an interesting part of the story, compelled to provide. And you're going to have to forgive him. This guy's rich. But it doesn't mean that we don't talk to him on the platform. Just because you're rich doesn't mean you're evil, Chloe Schwarbrook. The two things don't necessarily go together. So a warm welcome now to Troy Bowker, who is a principal of, I think I'd call it an investment bank or venture capital organisation called kiwis. And Troy joins us by video link now. Troy, welcome to the platform. Thanks for being with us, mate.
G'day, Sean. How are you, mate?
Good. Now, just tell us about kiwis. What would you describe yourself as professionally, or the company as professionally?
Oh, we're an investment firm.
Right.
So we invest in different investment classes, property, mainly property actually, but venture capital, as you said, private equity, which is buying into private businesses around New Zealand.
Yeah.
And also of listed companies, large stakes in listed companies.
All right. And you invest money or make investment decisions for your clients, and I guess your worth is that you make them some money from the investments that you recommend or get them into, or the deals you do, right?
Oh, no, it's actually just my own funds and,
okay.
And maybe 2 or 3 other.
Okay.
Yeah. So we don't fund from anyone else.
Okay, so it's your dough. You've done pretty well at it, Troy. You went, by the way, I just want to check, you weren't born with a silver spoon in your mouth? You haven't inherited vast amounts of money or anything?
Absolutely not. Self-made from Hawke's Bay, and milk runs, bloody paper runs, all that sort of thing. No inheritance whatsoever. Just hard work.
Okay, let's get this question out of the way, because everyone's going to want to know, what are you worth, Troy?
Well, the NBR had me about 120 million a few years ago, but look, Sean, it moves around quite a lot, and there's a thing called risk that I'll bring up on later on in the conversation. There's a thing called risk, which David Parker doesn't seem to appreciate or understand. But assets go up and down, so in any given day it could be up or down 5 million. But it just depends on how you value it, and that's another thing I'll bring up later on in the conversation. The complexity of valuing these assets is not to be underestimated. So Yeah, it's not a straightforward, and I don't necessarily see it as a number. I see it as a process, and I enjoy what I do. And if at the end of the day there happens to be some money, a lot of money generated from it, then so be it. But actually, it's about what I enjoy doing with my time.